Okay, hi, good morning all. So we are starting the webinar and I'll give a brief introduction regarding the webinar, like in a nutshell. Okay, so uh, yeah, we have someone joining. Okay, so yeah. So this webinar is basically addressing how Epicor ERP can help your delivery system by leveraging the benefits of AMM. You'll also get to know how conveniently Epicor has helped in increasing the efficiency of customers, along with reducing hurdles and streamlining the whole process. So that is what this webinar will be addressing. And now we have a presenter, Mr. Ranjit Thomas. He is the technical architect and Epicor practice lead at Thomson Infocare. He's well versed with the niche of trading and manufacturing. He's also someone with a strong passion for creating business cases and achieving promising organizational goals. Ranjit, I welcome you, and he will take from here.
Thank you, Lakshmi. Give me a minute. Good morning, all. Still few participants are joining. Once again, good morning, all. So we will start the session of Epicor pick and pack process. So basically, every company will have a trading or a manufacturing company sells goods to customers, right? So there are different methods of picking. So currently, on a all companies used to have the piece picking process, which is basically one sales order has been picked at one time, and it's been packed after the picking, and then the after packing the delivery goes to the customer. So there are different types of pickings which are available, and we will look into the what are the best picking process available and what Epicor supports. So second one is the batch picking. Here the picking is done on batches where they will consolidate few orders which are on the same inventory section, and they will process the picking. After that, they will process the packing in batches, and then all the batches are then converted to delivery orders. So another type of picking process is the zone picking, where workers on the same zone will pick and pack the orders partially, and then they will move the area to the next warehouse, where the pickers and packers in that warehouse will process their orders, and then they will move to the picking process. I mean packing process. So the last one is the wave picking, which is a hybrid of both piece picking and batch picking. However, Epicor also supports the wave picking process, where workers pick and pack batches of orders within their zone, then pass to the other zones for more batch picking. So this is basically a combination of piece picking and picking. So one second. Yeah. There are few key features of advanced material management, and through this we will achieve the wave picking process in Epicor. So the few screens which are mostly available in Epicor is the fulfillment workbench, where the initial process after the sales order is made, the fulfillment workbench is the place where user will go and interact and select the orders which they want to fulfill the customer. So in this particular workbench, they have a very, it's a very powerful screen with multiple features where they can reserve and or allocate the items. So we'll come to the reserve and allocation in the next slide. So next screen, major screen, what we will use in Epicor is the material queue manager. This is moreover like a manager screen. Let's say uh, let's say we have multiple teams of picking, and there are multiple warehouses. So in that case, we will divide the pickers to multiple teams, and each team will be assigned a set of a request to pick from the warehouse. So next screen is the material queue request. This will be uh, the individual pickers. It can be a handheld device or an individual system where it will be used by the pickers mostly, where they will process the items which they have picked from the inventory and make sure the correct item is picked as per the material request queue. So after the queuing material queue request, the process is almost complete from the inventory side. But next will be on the shipping and receiving section, where all the material request which is been processed is converted into picked orders. So it's very easy for a shipment person to convert the request queue to a picked orders and convert picked orders to a delivery order. So there are few other screens also where in case of any reversal, transaction reversal, we have unpicked sales order screens and we have unpicked transfer orders also. So moving to next slide. So now let's look into the various advantages of pick and pack process. So on a piece picking process, the major disadvantage is the same user will be, the same picker will be going to the same inventory or same bin area multiple times for picking for multiple customers. Let's say we have same item in 5 different sales orders. The picker have to go each time to 5 times to the same area to pick up one single item. However, in picking process, the requirement is consolidated into one particular section, and the user have picker have to just go into one area, pick all the 5 items from there, and collect it to the packing section. So which through this process, it will boost their efficiency by reducing the number of visits a picker will do in the multiple times of the orders. Doing this, it will improve the cost effectiveness of the company. It will, let's say there are multiple warehouses in the for the company, and think about the emails and phone calls that will be made to carry out one single pick pack process. Uh, Through a wave picking, this can be improved, and this is all done through the ERP system. Uh, Next is the control and monitoring process. Since everything is through ERP and we have a queue manager and queue monitoring process, every sections of the pick and pack is being monitored and can be controlled. Like I said in the previous screen, we have different teams, or we can assign individual person, or we can prioritize the orders which we have to process earlier than the others. So controlling and monitoring is one of the key feature. Next is the organize and control the inventory flow. In combination with the lot system, we can control the inventory flow of the materials. So let's say we have a lot system, and we assign or we configure the system in a way which will take care of the expiry date as well. So only the first manufactured item goes in first. So there are multiple ways of doing it. We'll come to that slide later, where we will have different options. We'll discuss the different options available in calculation. This is the first screen in Epicor after the sales order. Uh, which is called fulfillment workbench. It's a very powerful screen with multiple sorting and categorizing options, uh, where you can sort by a warehouse or an order date or a need by date or even a part number, or even the status of the different transactions. Let's say each transaction have a different status. From say once the sales order is created, it's open, and next it goes to the picking status. And once the data is being picked and users have picked uh, the item from the warehouse, the status moves to the picked status. And finally, when the DO is made, picked moves to the closed status. DO moves to the closed status. So this is the initial screen, which is called fulfillment workbench, where user can allocate or reserve the items for picking. So there are two methods of processing data. One is reservation and another one is allocation. Reservation is moreover like a soft allocation of items against a single or multiple demands. However, another order can override the reservation too. So next is an allocation process where you can allocate by part or lot. Uh, it's a hard allocation of
Abhi,
items.
sorry to interrupt. Just one quick. Good morning, all. Just one quick question. So, is it going to be Jitterbit for the integration layer, and it will be real-time integration? Okay.
This is basically the part of the reservation allocation process in ERP. So this is all available as an inbuilt system. Does that clear your
So
doubt?
there are four objects that we are going to sync. One is customer, sales order, billing, and project.
We are basically into the
Any
allocation.
other thing like the products, inventory, those things won't be available.
It's available.
Mm-hmm.
We will come to those screens in the later part. We will where I will give you a demo on the application itself.
Okay, so that means it'll be just the products will be an imported one, manual import or something, and it is not part of the integration. The product one will be manual integrations because the products are not created quite often. What about the product price and product inventory?
Product inventory and pricing is a separate topic of discussion where it comes from
Inventory
the
may not be required. Inventory, yeah, inventory. This are all custom orders made to order, I think. So inventory may
it,
not be a problem. That I think we can double confirm. Yeah, got it.
so okay. So there are multiple ways of allocations, uh, which is first in first out. Next is last in first out. Then we have allocation based on bin ascending and bin descending. Then lastly, we have quantity ascending and quantity ascending. And once a lot is also part of the configuration, then we have first expiry date, first out, which will decrease the our which will improve the stock rotation process. So always it will make sure the least expiry item goes into the shipment first. So moving to next slide. So these are the various setup screens which we have to configure in Epicor system. One is we have to create a warehouse team where you will define the number of employees under one warehouse team. We can create multiple warehouse teams under one plant, and each employee has to be a either material handler or a shop supervisor or a, a warehouse manager. If he wants to be a queue manager, then it has to be into the uh, material handler options. Next is we have to define a workstation for each employee. It's moreover like an if it's workstation or it's a handheld device, it has to be that is the place where he will be working for picking process. So either a workstation or a handheld device or an MES system has to be in place, and it has to be assigned properly to the employee master. Next is in give me a minute. Okay. Next is the allocation template. Allocation template is where we will define how the algorithm works behind the screens. When someone clicks on the picking or packing assigning in the fulfillment workbench. This allocation template is used at the fulfillment workbench section, uh, where the uh, where the algorithms can be the one we mentioned earlier, which is before or last in first out, or if it's a lot, then all those options are basically configured in allocation template. We can have multiple allocation templates as well. So once material is processed from So once material is processed from fulfillment workbench, it moves into the material queue manager. It's moreover like an manager area where we have multiple teams assigned, or it can be assigned to an individual person. So here it comes all the list of items which are yet to be assigned to any particular team. So here the manager will be using assign employee or assign team uh, buttons to assign the teams we defined earlier. Here also we can specify the priority of listing. We can have up to 5 levels of priority, and we can assign, let's say we have a very a priority customer, and we have to always ship the priority customer first. Then we have to set up in a way so that the priority customer has an importance. Next is the material request queue area. Uh, Parallelly, in material queue manager, we don't have an MES option, I mean, a handheld option. However, in material request queue, we have an handheld uh, screen as well. But all have the same features. This is the individual employee screens where they will process items individually. So, request of the material picking, which has been assigned by the manager, comes into this screen where they will process the items one by one. Uh, this is the material movement screen. Once the user double click on any line items here, this is the next transaction screen, which will tell you from which bin item has been picked, what is the quantity, what is the sales order that has been referenced, even sales order number, line, release level shows up. And from warehouse is the actual on-hand quantity available warehouse. Uh, we define bin. These all are, since the expiry date and lot number has been configured, these are all automatically picked up. And then we have to define a to location where the item has to be moved from the primary warehouse to the ship. It can be a shipping warehouse, it can be any other warehouse which is for packing. So once this process is complete, the picking and pack process is complete. Next screen will be the how the packed item is converted to a DO. Once the picking process is complete, it is one of the last step of processing records. And here all what the user have to do is select the picked orders which has been already created by the picker and select it into the customer shipment entry and process the shipment. Um, so these are the various steps involved in while making a pick and pack process. Um, the main advantage of the pick and pack process is the minimum user interaction, and it improves the accuracy and speed of the users and the entire process. Uh, Here nowhere we saw like they are actually entering the part number, or if it's a full quantity shipment, they don't have to type in any or alter any of the quantities here. Every other things are done by the system itself. uh, However, if there is a change in the quantity of shipment, or let's say there is an user level error where they want to unpick the items, we have the option to unpick the orders or unpick the transfer orders as well. So moving on to the demo now. So let me log into one of the servers. So as we said, we will have a short demo of the same. Uh, I have already created an order number 145014, and which has two items, and both the quantities are already available in the warehouse. So as I said, we have two types of allocations. One is a soft allocation, which is reserving, and another one is a hard allocation, which is allocation by part or bin or serial number. For this case, we will use allocation by part. So this is where we were saying about the different allocation templates. So in the allocation templates section, we have multiple algorithms to select. Uh, okay, we'll come back to the fulfillment workbench. So here I have created one sales order, which is 145014, and which have two items. And in this step, this is after the sales order creation, and which is the first step of a picking pack process. So we have two methods of allocations. One is reservation and one is allocation. Like I said, a reservation is a soft allocation method where once it is reserved, some another order can override the reservation. However, allocation is an hard allocation. Uh, However, this cannot be overridden by any other orders unless this is processed or this is unallocated. So here we will do the allocation by part. So in allocation by part, as I have mentioned, we can create the allocation templates. It can be product wise, it can be even if there are multiple ways of handling your inventory, we can configure it in different ways. Here I have configured along with the lot. So it's a combination of lot and the first in first out. So I have mentioned it as first expiry lot has to be taken first. So we have different methods. Also, so we'll go back to the second step. So this is a setup screen for allocation template. Here we have multiple options. If it's a pick and pack process, then it's the system screen itself. If it's a handheld device, then it has to be configured in the handheld device. So it will be available only on the handheld device. So since I have already created an allocation template, I will use the existing one. So we will use the same load template which we have created earlier. So it will tell you there are two demands allocated and two selected for picking. We have an option to print the pick list as well. Next, we will move into the material queue manager, where we will allocate each team or individual user for picking the process. So this is also one of the powerful screens where we have multiple filtering and sorting options. You can select by date, range, or even transaction type, employee, warehouse. So I will sort by date. So we have two items which we have already assigned, which we have to assign to the teams. So we select multiple lines. We can assign teams. We have created two teams for the testing purpose. We'll select the first team. Now we save and release. What release means, now the status of the lines have changed to release, meaning it has been released for pickers to start picking. So in the next individual screen of the user, which is material request queue, uh, this particular list of items which is available for picking shows up. So we have multiple options. Either we can assign an individual team, or we can assign individual users for picking. So now I have assigned individually to the user. Uh, Now it is showing up in the material request queue. Now the next process is they will go and pick the item from the material inventory, which could be the uh, warehouse and particular bin. Now they will move this particular item from particular one warehouse to the next warehouse. So what happens in the background is it creates an inventory transaction, which is termed with the identifier of stock to stock, meaning item has been moved from one warehouse to another, which can be tracked and monitored. So for each individual item, they have to process the material transaction movement. And now after processing each individual items, the entire transaction of the pickers has been completed. Now, if you look into the customer shipment entry, we will have under the advanced material management license, we will have one more option called picked orders. All the requests that has been processed by the pickers is already listed here, and if it belongs to the same sales order, it selects automatically. All the user have to do is to click on the create pack after selecting the items. Now the DO is been made, and next step is the shipment of the items and process the packing and load it to the uh, transportation vehicle. Uh, Now this is the complete process of pick and pack on a wave method. However, we can do individual batch and piece picking also, which can be decided on a business level. So these are the steps which has to be followed. We have seen the from sales order to pick and pack process, ship process. I will start sharing these slides. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, we can come up with the questions.
If anyone have anything to ask, kindly hand raise and then we'll unmute. Guys, if you have any question, you can unmute yourself and speak or either raise hand. Okay, Muhammad Akmal. Okay, we have a question here. Muhammad Akmal. Okay, so Muhammad Akmal has asked, can user change skip quantity after pickup actual quantity?
Uh, yes, user can do an unpack process. There's a separate way of doing it. Again, it depends on reservation on allocation. If it's a reservation, we can override it by other. We'll go back to the screens. So at what point it is what it requires is we have to check. If it's at the point of fulfillment workbench, there is always a way of undoing things, which is if it's an reservation, we can do unreserve. If it's an allocation, then we can always do unallocate and unreserve. This will make the available quantity, which will reverse the available quantity to the initial state. But if it's in the picking process, or if someone has been already picked the items, then we have another program to unpick the orders. This is unpick sales order, where we'll have to type in the order number and release number, which we have to unpick. And again, we have to provide the quantity and warehouse, which we have to move the item back. And if it's after the picked status, or if it's after making a DO but not yet shipped, or after shipped, then we have to process it accordingly, which is the normal process of unselecting the shipped checkbox, which will reverse the entire process, and we are back to the fulfillment workbench, where user can reprocess or alter the sales order up to the user. Hope it have answer. I have answer your questions. If you want any clarification, let me know.
We have another question. What is the difference between allocation and reservation?
A reservation is mostly an soft reservation of the items. Still, any other sales order, if that comes in as a priority, or in that case, the item goes to that item, or the item goes to that sales order. But allocation is moreover like an hard allocation. You cannot change once it is allocated unless you go through another few programs of unpicking and unallocation process.
I think we have a question. Okay, yeah, I have a question.
Sorry, you are not audible. We have another question.
We have
Yeah.
another question. Wait, like someone is typing. Okay. Yeah, we have a question. One by one, we need to move parts from one warehouse to another, and whether there is like uh, a list view, no list view.
We do have a list view. All these screens do have a list view, but in our demo, we have uh, shared only two items. So this is a list view, and it accepts multiple items. At the same time, you can process the entire allocation in the same single screen. Let's say in this screen, full, in this fulfillment workbench screen, you can see my screen, right?
Actually, your screen is not visible, Ranjit.
Okay, let me share it again. Now is
Yeah,
it?
now. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
This is fulfillment workbench screen. Here we may have multiple lines as well. So on a single stretch, you can select all items and do the allocation part, allocate by part. So it is it's not one by one. It's the entire applicable to the entire list. Yeah.
Okay, someone is typing. Have a query, I guess. Okay, so actually, it was about the move request screen.
Hmm.
He inquired. It was regarding the like he asked, like it was regarding the move request screen, which
Okay. Yeah.
was being addressed.
Okay. This screen. Sorry. That is one by one. We are talking about this particular screen, right? Where you have list of items and you select one by one. This screen is one by one, and on physically also it is one by one, right? We go to one section of items, we pick the items from there, and we move it to the another section, right? So this area is one by one. However, there are different ways of doing it. Some companies, what I have seen is they have taken the printout, if they are not using the handheld, they are using a printout and they have different columns to fill out who, when, how many quantities. They fill out all the areas and then one single person makes the data entry. So I have seen that. Then there is the handheld device also, which they carry along with them when while processing the each request.
Do we have any other questions? Okay, someone is, yeah, we have a question. After creating DO, it will have any reference whether this DO is created through pick process in terms of table level.
Yes, it would have. It will have the material. Each transaction has an reference of number. It will have a transaction ID, which is referenced in the part table. If you are technical background, if there is a main table of any transaction, it will be referenced in the part.
Okay, do we have any more questions? Okay, I think we have a question. What is wave number?
Wave number is basically, let's say we schedule it in a different way. Let's say the first picking cycle happens in the morning area, morning time, and we can differentiate between the both the times. That is basically how we differentiate both the processes. Like let's say we have one set of people or multiple teams working uh, in the morning or for a picking process. In the afternoon, we have another set of team. So those are divided as waves. So it's a methodology of picking.
Okay, we have a question. In case of returning items, how we have to handle it? It's a normal process as we do in Epicor, like DMR or pick process have separate method.
It's depends. We can do an RMA and do the process. We can do an inspection where inspection also comes to the material queue. We can again assign the material team to the inspection item. So that can be followed, or you can directly do the current process. It's both the process are valid. It's basically any transactions can be linked to any team or individual employee. So that is where material queue manager have to do.
I think we have a question. Any more questions? Any more questions from the audience? If you want, you can either mute the mic and ask, or you can just ping here in the conversation.
If you have more doubts or if you have any need any clarification, you can always ping us. You can always email us. You can email us in our any of our chat area, either in LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram, or you can directly email us in my email ID, which is ranjitd@thomsoninfocare.com. I think Lakshmi, we can wind up as I think we don't have more questions.
Okay, so in case, okay, Muhammad, how to run refresh part quantities and allocations, and what tables are reviewed when running this program?
Uh, this is not related to, even though this is not related to a pick and pack process, I can give you a few insights on this also. Basically, there can be some differences in the part bin and part warehouse tables sometimes. So that is when where we run the refresh part quantities and allocation. So what it basically does is after each transaction, it it records what is the quantity which has been moved, right? So all those calculation will be rerun again. So it will be basically a calculation for a part tran table, and if there is any planned transaction which is part of the transfer orders, it will recalculate and revalidate all the transactions based on the settings of if you are allowing negative quantity. uh, Based on those sections, it again recalculates and updates.
Okay, so I think do we have any more questions from the audience? Okay, I think Ranjit, we are done and we can conclude this webinar.
Yeah. Thank you all. Thank you all for your time. Thank you for participating. We'll be conducting more webinars on Epicor and cybersecurity. So you guys can join. Free feel to join anytime. If you need any clarifications, if you have any doubts, feel free to ask or email. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Lakshmi.
Yeah, thank you all and thank you for participating in this webinar. So that's all. We are winding it up. Have a great day.
Have a great day, guys.